Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book, or if you're watching us from Dark Arts, we're going to be talking with Jamera from the viral TikTok that went about last, I think, a month ago almost now, where she was telling us about her great story of love to, I don't know how to describe it, something that was meant to be a biblical love, a healthy love, a godly love turned into the bar was in hell, and Satan uses it for a pull-up bar. So what I'm going to do is, before Jamera gets here, I'll play a few of her TikToks so you guys can actually get up to date with the actual story and you know what's happening. So sit tight, get ready for some great conversation. I'll be joined by my special guest as well, Jay Anderson, who will also help coordinate the conversation with Jamera. And we're going to get into hopefully get a good conversation going, and also just ask some really good questions. Hopefully we can get a better understanding. So in the meantime, I'm gonna play a couple of her TikToks, because if you're not aware of it, baby, there's a story. All right.
So this is part one about what happened. So January 3rd, me and Caleb got into it really bad. We just could not see eye to eye on an argument that we had. And so at the end of the argument, it was a pretty much mutual breakup. Like, he went his way, I went my way, and that was kind of just that. At the time, I was living in Austin. He was living in Houston. When we had this argument, we were in Austin. So he left Austin and went back to Houston. Apparently, when he left that night, he went to go have sex with the girl he got pregnant, right? And yeah. So after he left, I didn't hear from him again until January 8th, which was Sunday. We broke up January 3rd, which was Tuesday. He left my house that night, drove to Houston, had sex with that girl, and I didn't talk to him for 5 days. January 8th, I get a phone call from an unknown number. I knew it was him, and he's pretty much like, I pulled up, I'm in Austin, where you at? I had just gotten off work, and although I was still upset with him, I was at a place where I was like, I miss him, I still want to be with him, and so that's what it was. So he pulled up on me at my house, and we talked about the situation. He took accountability. He owned up to the fact that, shit went super left when they didn't have to. We agreed that it wasn't enough to throw away our whole relationship over, and we moved past it. So we got back together. We agreed that we wouldn't get that mad at each other again, and if we did, it wouldn't result in breakup, and that was kind of just that. Mind y'all, when he had sex with the girl, January 3rd, when he left my house, I had no clue. I was just under the impression that he left my house and he was just going back to Houston to do whatever he was going to do. You know what I'm saying? Never did it cross my mind that, he's going to go see another girl. I never thought that. I didn't find this out till later, and y'all will obviously hear it when I tell the story. So, like I said, he hit me back up January 8th. We get cool. We talk things out. We get back together. We're cool, and that's that. So we were good after that. We were good after that. We didn't really hit another rough patch until recently. I'm gonna go look at the dates. Hold on. So we got into it again on January 15th, right? And at this point, I was kind of just like over it. I was over the situation, and I was over Caleb. Not entirely, but I did know that I felt like we needed some space. Because when we would get into it, it's like we would argue, we would like talk about it, and then get right back into the relationship. So I felt like none of his actions were changing. The same things were still happening. So this last time we got into it, I was like, yeah, no. We need some space apart. You need to go figure out what you got going on. You need to grow. Mind you, at this time, I still didn't know he had cheated on me. I just knew he was acting really immature. He was being really, really immature. We were fighting about stupid stuff. So, okay. So this is part one about what happened.
So, guys, if you're just joining us, like I said, it's going to be a conversation with Jamera and myself and Jay Anderson. I hope I pronounced her name correctly, because I'll be screwing people's names. Y'all know I got a history of doing that, so hopefully she can correct me if I've said it incorrectly. But we're gonna start the conversation. I can see that she's behind the scenes as well, so we're gonna get this conversation flowing. Listen, I want to implore everybody in the chat. You normally are, but please be respectful. Keep the questions good and fair. And please, I don't really like this whole when we do comments on people's looks and stuff. We're not doing that here. If you do it here, I'm asking the moderators to block you. Yeah. So any kind of comments about looks and stuff like that, I don't care how funny you think you are. Please don't do it. I will immediately have people remove you and block you. I don't want to see any of that kind of stuff on this channel again. And I'm feeling like my throat is going. Hold on 2 seconds. Hold on, baby. I don't know what is going on, but it feels like something is trying to attack the throat. Okay. Anyway, all right, cool. So let me bring on my fabulous guests, and we're gonna get this conversation flowing as well. So I'm gonna add my co-host, and then I'm gonna add Jamera on as well. Captain, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, Captain. I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing well. You're looking fresh,
Yeah, fresh haircut. I had to.
looking dangerous. Be careful.
Well, there's only one person I need to be looking dangerous for.
That's very true. That's the
There
right
you go.
answer. Oh, that's the right answer. You know what I mean? That's the right answer. All right, listen. Like I said, we're gonna get this conversation flowing. And I want to just quickly get your quick thought before I invite our guest on. I want to get your quick thought. When you watch that viral TikTok, and it went, by the way, guys, it went viral. Okay, I'm on TikTok myself, and yeah, I kept on seeing it. Okay, I kept on seeing it, seeing it, seeing it. Then I saw it on Instagram. Then I saw it on Twitter. And when it gets to Twitter, that's when it gets that one when your video reaches Twitter. See, Instagram is okay, but when your video reaches Twitter, at that point, all the Twitter warriors, all the paraphrasers, all the people that know how to write essays, all the people that know how to do quick 280 character destroying, that is where they find your video and they start tearing people up. But I want to get your perspective. What did you first think when you saw that video, and when you encountered it?
Do you know what? I had to watch it a few times. So I didn't realize what I was looking at. Like, not at all. And went through the comments, and I saw my missus was also commented on it as well. And I thought, hold on a minute, let me look at this properly. And that's when I looked at, wow, the man of God, the Bible, praying, like the man. This is the man that I prayed for, type of wave. And then just to hear at the end had a baby with someone else, I said to myself, nah, I need to hear about this because this is just ridiculous. Like, I need to know what exactly happened because obviously last week we spoke about men cheating. What type of man do you want to be? What type of legacy do you want to leave? I said, I just got questions.
Yeah, I know. When I watched it, they had the meme comes to mind where it's like they had us in the first half. You know what I mean? Like she had me in the first half because she had me like the Bible, the
Mm-hmm.
praying. It was looking good. And honestly, when the first time I watched it, I said, "What the hell did I just watch? Like what?" Did I just watch? Because what happened? It started so well, and why is the bar now in hell? And Satan's using it for the pull-up bar. I don't get it. Why? Why?
Mm,
Why is he doing dips on it now? I was so confused. It quickly flipped, and yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those stories where it, especially for us as Christians, when you watch it, you're like, oh my god, I was getting excited, thinking it's going to be one of those black loves, and then wow, 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 wow at the end, and you're like, oh man, and you're
that's
like,
that.
oh man, it's one of us again. it's
Mm,
the
yeah,
brothers
again.
again. The sisters gonna get a hold of this, and they're gonna finish us. So, yeah, it was such a powerful story. And obviously, she did some TikToks as well after that as well, which I think we both watched as well. And so, yeah, she gave a much more explanatory, kind of in-depth analysis of what
Mm,
actually happened. So, you know, by grace of yourself, you contacted her, and we've managed to get her on here so we can actually have a conversation. So, this is going to be good. I think we're going to learn. I think the ladies going to learn in the chat. I think the fellas too can learn from this as well. What we're not going to do, you know what I mean, as well. And this is going to go back to that conversation we had last week about how the impact of cheating and what it does to people, not only to the people, the not just to your partner or your ex-partner, but to the people wider as well, how it affects people as well. So this should be good. We're gonna get into this, bro. We're gonna get into this as well, bro. Yeah. But your final before I get her on now, what's the one question you wanted to ask? Because the way your brain was thinking, it sounded like you had a one question that needed to be asked.
No, do you know what? I have multiple questions. I
Okay.
need to figure this out. But do you know
Okay.
what? My main
I
thing
won't
is
be
because, like, listen, we've been through things, right? And we understand like the world, and even for things to go viral, of course, like Jamera must have been okay to some degree to be comfortable putting it out there. But my main thing is obviously like, is she okay? That's the main thing because when you like speak to so many ladies, when you truly think this is the man for you, this is the man that God has sent you, just to let you down like that. What was the caption? I don't know if I can trust again. Like that's a yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to talk about.
Scary world out there. All right, cool. Let's bring our guest on, and I hope she corrects me because I'll be saying Jamera, but it might not be Jamera the way I pronounce it. So
Mm.
hopefully she can correct me. You know what I mean? So, um, hey sis,
Hi.
how
How
you
you
doing?
doing?
How you doing?
Good. How
We
are
actually
you?
can't see you. We can hear you well, but we can't see you.
You can't see me?
No, I can hear you though.
I
You're
can
gone
see.
dark.
No.
You can see us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't see you, but we can hear you very, very well.
Hold on. Let me see. I don't know why you can't see me. Hold on.
No worries, love.
Give me 1 sec.
It's okay. Do 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 do. It's about to be an interesting one. Hey guys, if you're here as well, please do like the video as well. It helps with analytics, but it also shows well you guys like the content that we're actually doing as well. So if you're here and I think there's about 70 guys, it's growing every second now. Just like the video, so it just helps with analytics and so others can go. And also as well, keep it cute in the chat. I like that, please. No personal comments like that, please. We like to keep it nice and respectful in the chat as well. All right.
Chat myself as well.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. This story had me by the neck, though. I can't lie to you, because you know what I mean.
Me?
We still can't see you. Do you want tap out and tap back in? Because sometimes when someone calls you, it goes black.
So do I wait to just leave and come back?
Yeah, if you leave and come back, use the same link. Hopefully, it'll come back on. Yeah, because sometimes that happens. But yeah, man, it's one of them ones where, bro, obviously when I listen to all the parts as well, right, it just gets worse, bro. But it's like, but you know, it made me think because, like, I think for us as guys, and I remember my youth and my back in the day, the young self of the younger part of myself, right? Because obviously it seems like from what I'm hearing from her story, he cheated later on in the relationship, so it's not always that he's been cheating. It's like towards the end of the relationship, he was starting to cheat, right? And that's when he started doing his madness. Let's see if we can get sis up. Yes, we can see you, sis.
There you go.
Hey, sis.
How are y'all?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm
Good.
good. How's your day been?
It's been good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like to hear that. Mine's been good too. So I'm looking forward to this. Is it Jamera? Have I said it correctly?
Jamera, yeah, you're saying it right.
Jamera.
Fantastic. Because I'll be slewing people's names on here. I'll tell you that for free. Yeah. Yeah. But listen, Jamera, again, thank you for accepting the call to come and have a conversation with us. For those who haven't actually, let's say, don't know much about the story, or even those who know a little bit about the story, just a quick breakdown. Could you just give us a quick breakdown of what actually you experienced? Because, you know, I think every story is different, but they have similarities. But I would love to hear from your perspective. Tell us a little bit, in short, what was this about, in a sense?
Long story short, the boy that I was dating exclusively cheated on me with another woman and got her pregnant. And so that's just the best way to sum it up in so many words. Yeah.
Do you know what got me though? It's the detail. It's what it made me think of is like this is an example of like bad conflict resolution, where within himself he doesn't know how to deal with himself, deal with problems, and he chose to, you know, do something else that he didn't really need to do, especially the way that he was treating her, which we'll go into, you know, the differences between you, how he treated you, how he treated her. That confused me. So I never heard that before, but we'll talk about it anyway.
Double life.
The brother was operating from different spaces. Okay, so let's start from the very, very beginning, right? Because I just want to get, how did you guys meet? What was that like? What were you feeling? You know what I mean? Because I'm a person that is like, I believe red flags exist in the beginning and they end up in the end. So I want to know from Jamura's mouth, tell me the beginning. How did you guys meet? What was it like? You know, what did you see? What was you feeling? You know?
Okay, so I met him. I was living in Austin, and he was commuting to Austin. There was like I don't know if you heard of Afrotech.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's in the tech industry, and so the Afrotech is like African Americans that are in tech, like a big festival that happens.
Is that with that Cyrus, that YouTuber? Okay.
Austin here, and I at the time I was living in Austin, so I'm guessing after the festival, after the big like thing happened, there's a big like notorious street called 6th Street in Austin, and that's where everybody goes for like parties, clubs, bars. So me and one of my girlfriends had went out to 6th Street that night, and him and his buddies had went out to 6th Street that night, but we didn't know each other. We just happened to bump into each other at one of the bars we were at. And, you know, we talked and flirted, blah, blah, blah. We passed numbers, and that was that. Then the next day, he's like, I'm not one for small talk. Let's have lunch. So we had lunch the next day. It was like really quick.
Okay.
So we had lunch the next day, and we met up around like 1 p.m. And I didn't get home till like 2 a.m. to spend the whole day together. Yeah, like the day.
Wow.
Like we had planned to just have lunch, and then we just kept doing stuff. And of course, like for me, I was like excited. I was like, oh, this is so much fun. And so yeah, that was the start of it. So yeah.
This sounds like a whirlwind romance to me.
What the term I've been hearing is love bombing. Apparently it was love bombing. I don't know, but
Okay.
They do say love bombing. I don't know. I don't know if that's always the case. I think because the way that you told your story, I don't know if that is.
Everybody has their own personal opinion about it, right? And so looking at it, and it's really like, oh, it was love bombing. The thing about it is I lived that situation. That was me. That was my life. You know, so I feel like I would know if it was love bombing, and maybe it's me being naive. I really don't think it is, but I didn't consider that love bombing. Like what went on in our relationship wasn't love bombing. It wasn't trying to woe me for a second. Like, you know, it wasn't like a temporary thing. So that's what blows me. People are like, oh, it was love bombing. It wasn't love bombing, but everybody has their own opinion. So whatever.
But up until January the 3rd, was there a point where he changed before that date?
Okay, so let me say this. Like we were getting into it, but it's because we had a lot going on within our lives. Like, okay, we were trying to. Okay, so we had eventually came to terms with the fact that we were going to move in together, right? So we were trying to move, but we had applied to like 3 different apartments, and we kept getting denied. So like there were a lot of stressful things that were like hindering us. That was kind of causing conflict, but it wasn't necessarily like we're just bickering and arguing, getting mad. Like things were happening that were frustrating us. And that's kind of where the arguments were like really stemming from. But it wasn't like he switched up and I couldn't see his phone, or like he wasn't coming home, or like that wasn't the case. That never happened. So when I tell you it was like a light switch, you know, it wasn't any like signs that led to. And even looking back on it, people were like, there had to have been red flags. I really wish there was. I would feel better if there was red flags, but there wasn't. So.
So you're saying he was the best actor. That's what you're saying.
It's funny because I can laugh about it now, but it's crazy every time I think about it.
Wow.
Okay, so let's take it. So let's take it bit by bit so we can understand. Because, like I said, I think, like you said, you were living it. So I think it's always different when we're outside. We see things like as a linear aspect, but the person who's living it actually is experiencing things at the same time. So we need to get a better idea of what you were living through at that point in time. So just quick question: how long were you guys together for?
Like a year and 6 months.
Okay.
Whoa.
And when did you guys start to? When did you guys say you want to start to move in together?
Just last month. So actually, December. We decided in December we were going to move in together. Like to start the new year, we're going to move in together. Like that was the next step we were going to take.
Okay, so you guys have been like together for almost like a year or so, right? So, and I'm assuming the cheating started December time, right? Was that correct?
So it started from what I saw, right? Mind you,
Okay.
Going off of what I saw, what I know, what I was told. Apparently, we got into it on New Year's Eve, right? We got into a huge argument. And that was the first day he had texted the girl and hit her. But apparently nothing happened that day. He just hit her up, texted her, but we ended up getting back together and making amends. And so then he's like, I stopped talking to her. But that's the first time it like started. That's when the communication started between them. I don't know how they met. I don't know any of that. But I just know that's when he texted her. Yeah.
Did you say you don't know how they met? Did you just say you don't know how they met?
I have no clue how they met. No.
Wow.
I know
but that had been a year though.
Sorry, what did you say?
That's what I said, but that had been a year before that moment, right? New Year's Eve is a year. It's almost a year you guys have been together, isn't it?
Right. So this happened like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, okay. So that's almost but yeah, at that time of New Year's, you guys have been together almost 12 months plus, basically.
Correct.
Okay. So that makes sense. Go for it, Jay. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify to make the timeline clear.
Well, you answered it, but my question was, so you literally didn't know about this woman. You didn't find him texting someone that was strange. This is my friend or a friend.
And so one of the videos that I made explaining like what happened, one of the girls was like, "Oh, you should have known he was cheating. He had 2 phones." Right. Obviously, you think a man has
Powerful.
on
Yeah, too.
part of this is a man. First of all, a man having 2 phones has nothing to do with him being faithful or not. Right. That has nothing. He's gonna cheat. He's gonna cheat. Whether he has one phone, he's gonna cheat. But in this case, he had 2 phones. One was for work. One was his personal phone. But like I explained in that video, I had the passwords, iCloud password. I had everything. When somebody texted his phone, he'd be like texting back. I was, but let me tell you something about me. I don't go through phones. I don't go through phones. That's my own personal rule. I feel like if I have to go through your phone, why am I with you? You know what I mean? Like I feel trust. So I don't go through phones, and I never went through his phone. So maybe that's why I didn't. See, I don't know. I just never went through his phone. I mean, if he ever asked me, "Hey, go text this person back," I would go do that. But upon doing that, I never was like, "Well, let me keep scrolling." I didn't have to. There was no secrets in our relationship. So, yeah.
That's why I don't think it was love bombing, because of the fact that it happens after 12 months. That's when the cheating's, well, at least that's when the cheating's discovered. Right. Someone might ask then, was there excessive displays of affection? Like, was there too much affection from, because I heard your video, you're a person, and actually I want to even go a little bit deeper, because you're a person that doesn't like the person being too much on you, which is me. I like that too. I don't like people being too much on me. You know what I mean? I need that space. I need a bit of my independence a little bit, right? But from your perspective, do you feel like looking back now, there was maybe excessive affection in any particular case, or was it just for you normal affection, just normal,
I would say it was excessive for me. If I felt like it was excessive, it's maybe because I'm not, my love language is not physical touch. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not I get Caleb's love language was physical touch. That was a necessity. So I wouldn't say it was excessive. I would say that it was his way of showing affection, and that was his love language. So I didn't feel like it was excessive, but for me, I was just like, but it was compromise, because you compromise in relationships. So I don't feel as though it was excessive, but that was his way of expressing his emotions, his love. So I accepted it. But I wouldn't necessarily say it was excessive, but I do feel like he was clingy. I can probably say he was clingy. He wanted to be with me 24/7, and I would be like, oh my gosh, like that was probably maybe I could consider. I wouldn't even back, but looking back at it now, I can definitely identify that he wanted to be with me a lot. Maybe because it was, maybe it was guilt that I was cheating on him because he was cheating. I don't know. I have no clue, but. So, yeah.
Wait, sorry. I pick up a word. Sorry, guilt that you were cheating on him. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. Is this something you want to tell me?
Something wrong, and they assume that you're doing it because they're doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like maybe he was doing. Like he always wanted to be with me to see what I was doing.
Okay.
I get that point.
But
I get that point. So other than obviously the clinginess, was there anything else? Was there any verbals? Was he rude? Like, was he anything like that?
The one thing that I actually admired about him so much was the fact that when he got angry or upset, he never raised his voice at me. He never the time we're together, not once has he ever once to this day still cursed at me. Never cursed at me, yelled at me, called me out of my name. Never. Like he never disrespected me. And that was one thing that I just admired so much because talking with different girls, that was a thing. And I felt that's something I to my relationship. He did not disrespect me. So no. But what I will say is that now that you've mentioned, yes, one problem we did have in the beginning that got better over time is that he had fleet risk tendencies. Like when he got upset, he would just leave. He would leave. Like he would just walk away from the situation. Like he wouldn't stop and be like, let's talk about it. No, he would just he'd just walk away. And that was a big problem at first because after we have an argument, it's like we couldn't sit and discuss it. He would just walk away and he wouldn't want to engage in the conversation until he was ready, So that was something that we had at first.
I mean, that's someone who, I guess that's somebody who avoids conflict, I guess, in that sense.
That's why I don't really see it as a red flag. I'm like, I just thought we dealt with conflict differently. I want to talk about it right then and there, and he was like, I need some time. you know, so we didn't have conflict. But other than that one, that's probably the only thing I can really say was like the biggest issue was the fact that we dealt with conflict very differently. Other than that, no.
But when those issues would happen, would he come back and then say, let's talk about it, or would he act like it just didn't happen?
No, we always talked about it, but I just hated it. I hated it because I felt like we always had to like I said, I hated the idea of having to wait and talk about it. I want to talk about it right then and there. So we would always talk about it, but it would take like 4 hours. You know, he needed time to cool down. I would be like, oh my gosh. You know, but I've learned in that relationship that, you know, patience is key. Identifying, you know, how we both do differently. But no, we would always talk about it and identify the issue and move past it. So it's not like we just would blow it off. We always talked about the issue, but it would just be a matter of when. So yeah.
I get it. I don't think this is a case of someone. And the reason why I was asking these questions because I think what happens, and this is specifically for women, what I'm talking about, right, is that what happens after a breakup, and I'm not talking about you per se, I'm talking about the general consensus is he's a narcissist, he's a manipulator, he's a gaslighter, he was love bombing. All these words that people, a lot of times people just take words because they hear it, it's ding dong in their brain, but they apply it to situations. But I want to ask first those things because I think this sounds like a situation of we got together and oh boy, is just a cheater. That's really what it is. He cheated. You know what I mean? That's a real spit. He cheated, right? And I did see the little post you pop. I think he's cheated in the past before the past partner as well. I think I saw on your TikTok as well. So his issue is fidelity. Okay, his issue is fidelity. That's his biggest issue. But so from your perspective, then you know this relationship seems to be going on a good trajectory. You know, at what point in the relationship did you think to yourself, I just think this is gonna be a great relationship? You know what I mean? Like at what point, what was happening? Do you think to yourself, this is gonna work? This is gonna be amazing. This is gonna be beautiful.
I mean, there were a couple of different instances, but when he bought me, so Caleb, when I met Caleb, he was very big in his faith, right? And me, I was just starting this journey, right? Like I've always believed in God, but I didn't. What I had finally became aware of was the fact that I believed in God, but I wasn't a woman of God. Those are two different things.
Okay.
And for me, I felt like Caleb was a man of God. Not only did he just believe in God, he was a man of God. So I felt like he was a great mentor and he gave me the right guidance to, you know, walk on that journey confidently. So along my journey, it's like he was just so encouraging and what other word can I use? I don't know. He made me feel really safe in that area because I mean I was new to it and then I would fall off and then come back and I was inconsistent and then I had a lot of concerns while on my journey. So I just felt like he was there the whole step of the way for reassurance, and it was a very intimate moment for the both of us. And that's what made me realize that, like, you know, our relationship was based around one God. You know what I mean? Like I thought so. But that's what made me feel like, yeah, this is really going to work for me because I really wanted a God-fearing man. I didn't want to be the only person in the family in my relationship that like would cling on to God or you know, that's what I was working towards and my partner wasn't. I felt like it was a mutual thing. That really got me hooked. So, yeah.
Wow. Do you know what? At the moment, he sounds like a good guy, but we'll get into it. We'll keep going.
So now, just look a retrospective look at it. Yeah, did he meet the man of God mantle now? Because obviously, of course, because I'm on because the gift of having, I'm sure you know it's ready, but like for instance, I have a gift of teaching the word, but my character can still be flawed. Do you know what I mean? So I'm asking, like, for you looking back and maybe looking back at some of the actions within the course of relationship, just from your perspective, you know, did the man of God title meet the characteristics that you were seeing? If you look back,
For me personally, yes, they did. But let me say this. I realized, so there was a point where I had fallen off, right, of my journey, and I'm just like doing Lord knows what, right? And and there was a moment where like once, and like I said, Caleb was the person that was like, guiding me through that journey and helping me and encouraging me. There was a moment where I felt like I started to like rub off on him, and the characteristics that he displayed were like, it's like he started lacking. You know what I mean? Like I started to have like a negative impact on him, and it made me think like, is this a front? Is he just doing this? Because like he was starting to do things that I had never seen him do. Like for instance, mind you, together all this time, and like he's really big on like the music that worldly music is a no. But out of nowhere he's listening to trap music and he's cursing, and I'm like, who is this? It was a little brief moment, right? So I was just like, we all have a little.
Moments.
Nobody's perfect, but yeah, there was one instance where I was just like, what is going on? So I do feel like their characteristics match the like man of God title, but he definitely had his moments. I mean, that's all I can say. Yeah.
Fair point. So, in regards then to, because I think it's really important. And so, did he grow up in church? Did he grow up in church, or did he come to the faith a little bit later?
So he went to jail, like
Okay.
2-3 years ago, and pretty much like he said that after he got out of jail, he just wanted to change his life. So yeah.
Oh, so it's only 2-3 years into his faith?
Huh?
He was only 2-3 years into the faith.
Yeah, he's new to it. He was new to it.
Okay, that gives a different perspective now.
Yeah, he was new to it. So it's like he got out of jail, and then when he got out of jail, he just was like hardcore thing, God. Yeah.
Okay, so I gave my life to Christ when I was 27 years old, and I'm 36 now, and it's not easy at all. I'm still refining things. I'm still making sure I'm far away from my old self. And definitely after 2-3 years, I would not say that I was the man of God that I am today. And I'm still far from perfect. So I guess my question is, based on what he had told you about his past life, are you saying that from what you saw, from what he showed you, he did not fit that at all? He changed his friends, how people related to him, what you spoke about?
Listen, his friends, the friend group he had, non-existent. Like literally, so New Year's Day, right? So New Year's Day was the first time the first time in like 2 years, because I told you his journey was like fresh. So let's say 2 years, right? That was the first time he had old friend group in 2 years, was on New Year's Day of this. So literally, I was on the phone call. They had a phone call before they had met up, because they were pretty much like bashing him about how he had walked away from them with no type of notice. And then when he walked away from them, one of their friends had just passed away, which is why they were so even more upset with him, because they felt like he had walked away at a time where they needed him most. But he let group. He had even walked away from his family. Like when I tell you it was a 180, it was a 180 from what I saw. So it was not like I felt like it was like partially in, partially out, because he had lost his whole friend group, and those were his friends that they had a relationship with 5th grade. So he was like, he walked away from that, but it wasn't benefiting him. So from what I had seen, I felt like, yes, it matched up, but yeah.
Do you know what? We was asked, if it was last week, just what are the red flags to look out for a man that cheats? And one of the things I said is, there is no perfect answer that any of us can give. Like, so if someone's going to cheat, they're going to cheat regardless. And it's a decision that they're going to make when the opportunity comes. So I look at this as a situation where, based on what you're saying, he was a guy who actually really wanted to change his life. Was he all the way there? Of course not. You're not going to be after 2-3 years. Absolutely no way. But he really wanted to. So that's why I said in the beginning about conflict resolution. You might not know this, well, you won't know this, but at what point did he decide that this was the right way to resolve conflict? And I'm saying that is because I know Christian men who resolve conflict in the exact same way. they just haven't got anyone pregnant. And I've had to speak to them over and over and over again to say this is not the way to go. So that's why I'm trying to understand who he is, what's going through his mind, and especially to treat someone that he's been with for a year like that. So that's where my mind is at.
We did have a conversation after it all happened. We did meet up.
Okay.
And so I was like, my biggest question was why. You know what I mean? And although it couldn't change what happened, I get an idea of like, you know, like what triggered you to do that, pushed you to that point. And he kept saying that he didn't know. He was like, I just don't know. Well, actually, one thing he did tell me was that he's like, I felt like it got so bad that there was just no coming back from our most latest argument before we had broken up, because we broke up. We had like broken up, got into it on New Year's, right? I told you I was looking at the little breakup. He felt like it was so bad and like we weren't gonna come back from that. So that he felt like he just needed to, he needed some type of like comfort, pretty much. And I guess maybe him going out and doing that gave him the comfort. Look, to this day, I still don't know. I still don't get it. Because when he was explaining it to me, it made no sense. So I was just like, this is not a logical answer. It makes no sense. But that's the answer he gave me. But besides that, he just kept saying he didn't know. He was like, he doesn't know why he did what he did. He can't give me a logical answer. I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think what it's given somebody who does want to change his life around, right? But there are discrepancies in the character, and I want everyone to because I can see the chat and I understand it, right? Being a Christian does not mean you're absent from having to work on your character. This is the biggest mistake most people make, and they assume that because you come to Christ that automatically your character, changes with it. There are parts of your behavior, parts of your character that actually still need to be worked on. You are no different to a normal human being who doesn't have Christ. The only difference is that you have faith and you have Jesus as your Lord and personal Savior, right? But you do need to work on your character. And if that character is consistent, where, for instance, lust is one of your biggest issues, number one. Number two, the other aspect being that if you don't have conflict resolute, as Jay was just saying as well. And the biggest one I think that normally happens here as well in these situations is that people can't deal with pain. And this is one of the biggest issues. Like when you can't deal with pain and you don't know how to recover when you're in pain, you look for your tablet, right? And as much as people might be saying something, I've seen this with women do this to men. So it is no different. Like Christian, non-Christian, whatever. This happens to both men and women. And the person is trying to be different. They are trying to be different. They're trying to change. They're trying to show it different. But when the pain becomes too much and they're faced with actually changing that behavior, they choose to go back to the easy route rather than dealing with the hardness of going, this is the pain I'm facing right now. This is why I had to ask the questions qualifying at the beginning. What kind of person was he at the beginning? See, because if he's love bombing, do not think, then that's something completely different. But if there's somebody been in an actual relationship where they are now having to face a mirror with the person they're in a relationship with, suddenly they realize that your perfection, even though you're not perfect, your perfection is making him feel even more imperfect. And he's realizing, I don't know if I can actually do this. And so rather than actually just going, even just ending a relationship or even just saying, hey, man, I can't even do this no more, they end up cheating to get out of the situation rather than having a conversation, because it's easier doing that and you going, do you know what? I'm breaking it up. It's over. Then just going, do you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm suffering. I'm struggling with what I'm facing right now. And actually, I know I shouldn't be thinking like this, but this is how I'm thinking, right? A lot of men go through this because they don't deal with emotions. They don't talk about emotions. They don't know how to process emotions. And when they meet a woman, and the thing is, no matter how mad you've lived a life, most of us want to be loved. That's the reality. And so men specifically, we look for women. A lot of times, if you haven't done the work, a lot of men look for women to love on, and they expect that woman to love them, right? But they don't realize the work it takes to love you until they're face to face with it, and then they end up like sabotaging themselves in that sense. That's why I asked, when did you find out? How long have you been together, etc. All those questions, because if he wasn't cheating from the very beginning and moving mad, it sounds like he was trying to make some changes But the reality was there was too much pain for him to deal with. Nothing to do with you per se, just too much pain to deal with. And instead of dealing with it, he ducked out and went and cheated, as well. And I heard he was crying and doing all that stuff when he wanted to come back and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, me. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense for you, Jamera. I saw that. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
No, it definitely makes sense. I feel the same way. I feel like when he was faced with so much like conflict, that the best way he knew how to handle it was maybe how he used to handle things, and and that's exactly how I felt, and I guess what I've been telling myself as like a source of why, but I never really got a clear why. And I just felt like it was the easiest thing for him to do, It just kind of maybe was what gave him the best comfort in that moment, or what was most easiest acts. I don't know, but I definitely get what you're saying, and that's kind of what I've been. I guess that's kind of what I've been thinking as well. That it's just, it's kind of like a relapse. Is what I felt like it was, but nonetheless, it still happened. So, yeah.
What's his relationship like with his parents?
Okay, so boom, he doesn't have a relationship with his parents.
Okay.
So wow. Him and his dad hadn't had a relationship since his childhood for various reasons. His dad just not being the best father to him, and that was understandable. But for me, family's a really big thing. So it wasn't ideal, but I just felt like I couldn't judge his circumstances because they said they sounded rational. It's him and his father didn't have a relationship because his father didn't play the father role. I can't really harp on him for not having a relationship with his father because of that. I think it's something that he wanted to try and grow, but he just couldn't get past certain things that happened. And yeah, so him and his dad didn't really have the best relationship. They didn't talk besides like holidays, birthdays, blah. And him and his mom didn't have a relationship because he felt like his mom didn't accept his growth. After he had gotten out of jail and wanted to change his life, she was pretty much calling BS. Like, she didn't believe him or the fact that he wanted to grow or be a better person. And she kept harping on who he used to be. Even when I met her, I could see it because she was constantly talking about what he used to do and who he was, and nothing of who he's walking to be now. So that's why I wouldn't say they didn't have a relationship, but it wasn't like a close-knit relationship, So yeah.
Would you say from what you saw and what you heard that he hadn't been or wasn't being loved properly by his parents, and he also had abandonment issues?
I can say that, yes, because I also met his sister who had the same issues with her parents. So it's not like he was just the one by himself. His sister had the same issues. His brother has the same issues with their parents. So it's a mutual issue between the kids and their parents. So yeah.
And this only showed up, or his behavior only changed when it came to a point where he literally thought that you was no longer going to be together.
Yes, that's when whenever so we had two really bad arguments that we kind of like broke up from, which was New Year's and January 3rd, back to back. But those two times, it was definitely very explosive, and to the point where he did not think we were going to get back together. Maybe that's the impression I gave off because of how upset I was, but that's pretty much what I guess triggered his emotion. I don't know.
So that leads me to say, we can watch movies, we can watch paternity court, marriage court, whatever the case may be, and there's so many people who have abandonment issues who literally cheat because that pain of that person that they love leaving them, they can't bear it, so they have to go and find someone else to pacify it. They'll regret it, they always do, but that's how I kind of see the situation at the moment. Someone who actually wanted to change and was doing amazing. He was doing amazing with that change. But when it came to the point where the question was now around the relationship, I guess, again, it's conflict resolution. Instead of seriously sitting down and saying, no, we're not going to break up. Let's work on this. You're the one for me.
Right.
He decided to, as you said, go back to Houston. I mean, this woman has been around for a while. They didn't just meet. Let's be honest here. She's been for a while. So who is she? That's what I want to know, but he's not here. But so who is she? Because has this been someone that he has been using as a pacifier before?
So because told me she's been in the picture. They've been together for like 3 years, apparently.
What?
Yeah, apparently they've known each other way before we knew each other. But I never knew about her. And I asked him about his ex. We had the whole, so who are your exes? How's the relationship? What happened? We talked about his exes. I didn't hear about her. I don't know who she is.
Wow.
You know what? Listen, Mazzoline, this is sounding very familiar. You understand? Listen, I know this one right here. You know, this is no, this is interesting. I think it's interesting because I think we're trying to explain the behavior per se. So if anybody's listening, we're not trying to give him an excuse. We're trying to decipher what actually is happening so we can understand where people come from. But this definitely does sound like, if that girl's been there for 3 years, that's you're right. The word is pacifier, and that comes with a particular attachment style. I think this guy is scared to fully let go and actually get himself fully into a relationship. That fear of, like you said, abandonment. That woman, that girl. Is she the same age as him? Younger, older?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is a girl same age as him? Younger, older?
Older. I think she was like,
I knew it.
I wanted, she has a child. I think she's older than Caleb. Caleb is 24. She had to have been like 30 something.
Yep, right there.
Older for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. That makes sense now, right? Because the role she's actually playing is another mother. She's not playing a partner.
Yeah. There you go.
You understand? So that woman has been there for years because she soothes. You know. Did you watch The Boys? Anyone watch The Boys? There's a show on Amazon Prime. It was like a superhero thingy. But similar enough, the main character has that same issue. It's like he's always looking for the mummy or the mam in a woman so that he can be propped up. Because that abandonment issue, if she's always there, it doesn't matter what happens with you and him. He knows that she's always gonna be there. She's got her own issues because she's dealing with a small boy. So
Yeah.
go for it.
So like now that you say that, I'm like, mind you, day by day, little by little, I'm realizing new things. I do feel like that played a role in why he maybe ran to her, I guess, as an escape, because maybe she played that role for him, and that's not a role that I wasn't his mom, I was his partner, so I didn't have the motherly role because that's not what I was to him. So maybe because she had that soothing type of essence about her, maybe that's what he clung to in the times of trouble. I don't know, but that, yeah, hearing you say that kind of clicks, because I'm like, maybe I don't know. I have no clue. But
this story sounds so. It's mad because this story sounded so familiar, and I'm trying to remember who had this story. Someone else had a similar story like this, and they were telling me about it. But that woman is that woman. That's why I was asking about the age, because I knew she'll be older. There's also manipulation on her side. Because he's a young boy who she also can see is in need of something. So she supplies the need. Do you understand? She can't let go of him either. And the fact that he's being needed by someone is also what is also keeping him in that cycle with that woman as well, right? So if he's been 3 years, he's been with that woman since he's 21, maybe even 20, you know what I'm saying? Might have been a little bit younger than that. Do you know what I'm saying? So that woman has been working on him for a long time. She has several years on him. She knows exactly what she's doing in terms of him playing that surrogate husband that she can't get, that is working through him. Now she has the baby. I'm telling you now, she may say, I can't believe it's happening to me. She's smiling because that toxicity is smiling because she has something to lock him in with. This is forever going to be locked in. No matter what happens after this, he locked in some type of way. She has to deal with him in some type of way, right? When she gets healed, she'll realize that she don't want to be in a situation anymore. But when that gets to that stage, she gets to that stage. But then now he's dealing with a woman that's older, who's playing that motherly role, don't want to be abandoned. She needs me, etc., etc. What he was hoping for with you is that he would finally get to what I would say to the next level, right? And this is where healing oftentimes takes place for a lot of men that needed, right? That next level was you. I'll be honest with you. That next level, when I say next level was you, in the terms of the fact that you're the kind of person you wanted to be with, but because the parts of him have not been healed, he cannot expand himself to be with you fully. He always had that person there because he hasn't left there. You know what I mean? It's like when the Bible says we're renewed and we've become this new man, and you're still thinking about the sins that you were doing in the past and how you enjoyed it. Like part of you still wants to go back there, and you can see this betterment on this other side, right? That's why the relationship was going for so long. He wanted to make it work. He wanted to be there, but that part of him that's not healed is still hungry. And when it's still hungry and it wants to be fed, it goes back there. So until you kill that part of yourself as a man, where you kill those parts of you which your character flaws and the wounds that are emotional. He probably doesn't even know he fully even has all of these wounds that he's even dealing with. If you don't become aware of it, you will self-sabotage your relationships all the time. And I'm sure a lot of ladies have encountered the same thing you've encountered. Maybe not in the sense of having that other woman there, but just those men who are not fully cooked. He's a cake that's still raw. Do you know what I mean? The outside layer looks good, but inside is still gooey. And when you eat that, enough of it, you have a runny tummy. And it's the same thing with him. He's not fully cooked. And so that's why he went back, as a dog does to his sick. He went back there. And instead of actually staying with you and trying to fight it out by actually, being faithful and actually having conversations and actually saying, hey, I don't get it. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm not figuring this all out. He couldn't. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, boy.
For everyone on this call, like, pay attention to what Kojo is saying, because this is something that happens all the time. When people literally go back to the old patterns, the old ways of doing things. But the point I want to stress is because of attachment. When you're with someone, you can be with someone, but you have to question, well, then again, you didn't know about her, but you have to question, okay, who are your friends? Who do you talk to? Because that attachment that a person might have, like Hojo said, will stop them actually giving you 100% of themselves. And they may not realize it because they may have been doing it all their life, just like he has been. She's been around for 3 years. And the one thing that got me is that she knew about you.
Yeah.
So that to me is worse, because I don't care that she said, oh, boo-hoo, I wish I wasn't pregnant. She wants Caleb. She wants full commitment, full everything. She doesn't like it when he leaves. But he knows he can play that manipulative game and go back whenever he pleases.
Absolutely.
Do you know what?
But I have a question.
Go.
But I have a question.
Okay.
So Jamera, he asks obviously about the gentleman's relationship with parents. What's your relationship with your mom and dad?
So I am like a huge girl. We're best friends. She's like the love of my life. I love her. And she's the only way I could put it is that we're best friends. She knows everything about me. That's who I run to. That's my go-to, my backbone, my best friend. I love her dearly, like literally my whole heart. Now me and my dad, we don't have the best relationship, but we are cordial. We speak to one another. Yeah.
I got another question on the back of that. So let's just say he was leading you in, well, no, not let's just say he was leading you in Christ. He was giving you the wisdom, giving you the guidance. Many, if not most women, they may say they want something else, but this is what most women want, a man who can lead, especially in Christ, everything else. It's just a question. I'm not saying it is the case. It's just a question because we've got a lot of people watching this. Was there a part of you that, even despite what happened, that wanted to be with him because how he was behaving towards you in the year was like a replacement for what you didn't have with your father, and that kept you there longer than you needed to be, or stopped you seeing things that you needed to see? It's just a question because I don't know, but we have to ask it.
So what you're asking me, if you feel like Caleb was filling the void of like my dad?
Yeah, micro or macro, but because he was doing well, don't get me wrong, but he was doing what he was supposed to do. But
okay, so although I didn't have my father, I had male representation, so I didn't feel like I lacked in the area of what men should be doing for women, because regardless of me and my father's relationship, him and my mom were married. So my mom and my dad had there was a point in my life where me and my dad did have a very close relationship. Me and my dad didn't really break off until I got to college. So maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, we kind of did. Our relationship went downhill. But up until then, my dad was actively in my life, and he played his role as a father, and I got to see how men treat women, because my dad treated my mom in the utmost manner. So I got to see the standard, and what I should expect. So I don't really feel like Caleb was filling a void, because I had my dad in my life, and I still do. We just don't have the best relationship. But we don't have a relationship based off of my terms. So it's not like I'm feeding or wanting for a relationship that's not being reciprocated. I just feel like I'm at a place where I decided I was going to take a step back from somebody that wasn't necessarily benefiting me the way I needed him to. That's kind of what that is. But I don't really feel like Caleb was filling a void, because he wasn't like playing a fatherly role. That's I don't know if I'm answering your question
You are.
correctly. Personally, I don't feel like he filled the void, because there wasn't really a void filled.
Yeah, I would agree with what you said, because if you've had your dad playing the role of your dad for the majority of your life, then I would say you don't fall into that category. But of course, many people do. So
Yeah.
that's why I have to ask the question, because
Yeah.
it's part of, you know.
No, my dad, he wasn't absent. I just felt like I got to a certain point in my life, I was just like, this isn't really working for me, and that's kind of where that happened. But no, I don't think that was the case.
Okay.
So I'm gonna re-enter that conversation though. So I've had my dad in my life my whole entire life, right? But I can be very honest and say a lack of emotional care that I needed for the level that I needed. Let me say for the level that I needed. That's not to say he didn't provide any, but for the level that I needed, it wasn't enough. This makes me emotionally avoidant. When I come to relationships, I'm emotionally avoidant. So how it plays out in relationships for me is when people get too close, I like to try and move away a little bit, right? You're too clingy, I need you to back the frick up, okay? Because you're doing a bit too much, okay? Just a little bit too much. I want to love you on my terms. So if you're doing too much, I can do a little bit too much when I'm ready to, but you can't do a little bit too much to me when I'm not ready, because that's not how it works.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, cool. So I think we're on the same page here. Okay, so I don't think it's a daddy issue. I think it's what happened though. It's so having your dad in your life, for many of us, if you have two parents, you've been blessed enough to have two parents in your life, can still be scarring and still can be traumatic. I know that for sure from me personally. And it doesn't mean the parent was necessarily the worst parent. It just means that there was things that were missing that I quintessentially needed at peak times, right? So, getting into my teens, my 13, 14 teens, dad was always there, but emotionally present. I couldn't rely on him necessarily to share those feelings. That's not the African style. That's not the African way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I realize how much it affects me now. I'm now 31. So that's what, a good 18 years from teen. In those 18 years, I've had to grow to understand myself. I didn't realize how bad it was until maybe like 25. And then I got into a relationship with a girl, and, she did the worst to me. But I mean, in the sense of when I look back at the relationship, there was parts that I was awful in, that I was unable to be present in, right? In those relationships. And when I look back and I ask myself why, I realize it's because I struggle to be emotionally present. I get overloaded. So if there's too much going on in the relationship, or the person's too much for me, I try to create a distance between myself and them. I don't like being relied upon too long. Sometimes if you think I'm going to do this, like, yo, I could be here for a season. You don't know that for sure. So just in case you think I'm here forever, I'm here for a season, player. Don't get to it. Don't get too attached, just in case. So I started realizing these things were happening to me. And I can be really loving, but I can also, if I get hurt, be really cold. And I was very passive aggressive in a lot of my movements, meaning that, if I'm hurt, I might not necessarily voice it, but you're going to know it, because I'm going to probably ignore you for the next 3 days. Okay. I'm going to pick up your calls. I'm going to pick up your texts. I'm going to let you feel it. I'm going to punish you. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. And it was emotionally abusive, if you call it that. In reality, that's what I was at points in time, right? I didn't see it that way at that time, though. I saw it as, you hurt me, and it's the only way I know how best to cope with what you're doing, what I feel you've done to me, right? I didn't have the right tools to communicate in the sense that would help heal the relationship. Instead, I was destroying it, but thinking that you're hurting me, so this is what I have to do, right? When I look back at it now. So I'm saying for you, and maybe after hearing what I'm saying, maybe it's not the daddy issue per se, but maybe it's the emotional aspect in terms of how you deal with emotions. So maybe I can ask that question. How does Jamera deal with emotions?
Honestly, so I
After this, I'll go as well because I want to give another.
uh, I actually used to go to therapy, and I stopped going because I realized I wasn't able to truly be honest about my emotions. Like I think when you start going to therapy, you have to be ready to expose yourself. At the good and the bad. You know, you're not going there just to talk about, oh wow, this happened. Like you have to go there and be accountable for your actions, things that you did that you shouldn't have done. You know what I mean? And I was not ready then. I start therapy again next week because I feel like I'm in a place now where I'm ready to like be transparent with myself. So I feel like for a long time and still even now, I am like emotionally unaware. Like I was reading the comments and people are like, oh, she's nice, she thinks it's funny. And in reality, it's like I think emotionally I'm unavailable. Like there's no way to put it. Well, like for okay, let me just say this. When all this happened and everything that's happened and transpired, I put this on my entire life. I have not shed a single tear. I've just been like, okay, it is what it is. I haven't cried one. I put this on my life, y'all. I haven't cried one tear. The day I found out, I was at work, right? The day after, I had to go in and work a double shift from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Got off the next day. I had to drive to Houston, move to my like. Life doesn't stop. So I was like, I don't sit around and have pity for myself. I don't know how to explain it. Like I don't sit around and feel sorry for myself or have pity or like why me. That's just not me. I don't know if I'm starting to think that maybe it's an emotional issue that I have that I don't allow myself to feel. But when things happen to me, I'm just like, on to the next. I don't have time to sit around and be sad about it. And maybe that stems from my dad. I don't know. You know, my mom is very much so like, when my mom saw me moving and going and she's like, you need to take a minute and sit down. And I'm like, no, I got things to do. I got to keep moving, you know? I'm trying to figure out a way to cope, and that's keeping myself busy, you know? So I'm starting to realize that there's definitely emotional damage there because I don't allow myself to feel. Like, something happens to me, okay, I got to keep it pushing. That's just me, though. I don't allow myself to sit around and just mope and have pity. And I don't allow that for myself. So to answer your question, emotionally, I'm very unavailable because I just don't, I don't know. I don't even know, honestly. I just know that I'm
When did your parents actually break up?
my senior year. No, actually so they separated my freshman year of high school, but they didn't get a divorce until like my sophomore year in college.
And wait, if I heard correctly, did you say that did you see cheating? Did you say you saw cheating? Was there cheating there?
My dad cheated on my mom, yeah.
Were you aware of that at the time when you're younger?
That was
okay.
Like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Looking back,
like my mom knew about everything, obviously, but she never exposed my dad's infidelity to her kids. Like that's something that was off the table. Like, what happened between my parents is their business. Like my mom, our father's our father, and who he was, not for what he did to her. You know. So I didn't know about the infidelity, the cheating, the lying. I didn't know about any of that. So. No.
Looking back though, and before I go, in hindsight, are there things that you saw your father do at the time that now you think, okay, that's probably when he A, B, C, D, E?
Heck yeah. Heck yes. At the time, I'm like 15, you know, when they first separated. So my mom's keeping us active and we're going. I'm oblivious to it at the time because I'm so young, and that's something my mom, you know, really exposed us to. So at the time, of course, I saw it but didn't think much of it. As a young woman now, as a young lady, oh, totally. I'm like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, it all makes sense now. But that's it.
So I asked that question because my relationship with my father is exactly the same as Kojo, and it really is a part and parcel with African households. The men don't know how to say sorry. They show love in the way they show love, just hardness. You know, and another time I can tell you a conversation me and my dad had last year, and you know, I've had to learn really through healing that I need to be okay not receiving that love from my dad. And it's because one of the things that I realized is that I was also someone that was emotionally available, but the way it came out was I would minimize things that would be done to me. I would give excuses for obvious things that were not good, but I would always try to see the good in a person.
Ooh.
You see? Oh, did I touch something? Did I touch something? Okay, should I carry on? Should I carry on? Because no one is perfect, and some people are more, you know, more difficult than others. Let's be honest here. But I was keeping myself in situations I didn't really need to be in because I wanted those situations to, let's say, you know, what's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? There was no pot of gold, just thorns, muds, all that stuff. But in my head, I wanted to hang on to that hope. I wanted to hang on to that attachment. And that's what happened to me because of my relationship with my father. So he was always around, apart from when he was in Ghana and when he came in here. But I never got that type of love that would stop me attaching easily, that would make me more wise to relationships and, you know, positions I should put myself in. So that's another angle that when it came to Caleb, were there things that you overlooked because you just wanted to see the good in this Christian man who is trying? He went to prison, he changed his life. I see I'm making you do some movements here so I can see what's going on. So, you know, these are things that we all do. You know, we
Yeah.
all do it. I know loads of ladies who are giving guys every excuse under the sun, and you can see this guy does not love you. He does not want to give you those actions. But it happens to everyone. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure there are definitely some things I probably just overlooked for the sake of what's the word I'm looking for? When you hold on to like potential. Oh, like, oh, potentially, you know? I think maybe things and what I would hope would progress, right? So I'm sure there's definitely things I overlooked, and for the sole idea of the fact that, like, you know, I loved him. So I was like, okay, well, there are certain things that you know, you just look past when you love somebody. So I mean, I don't know.
Let it out.
I can't really place my finger exactly on what I felt like it was that I overlooked. Uh, mm, I think okay, look, okay, something that I feel like he had a really bad um habit of doing. He lacked accountability, real bad.
Did mention that. Yeah, that's a big one.
Get into an argument, and like I said, we would talk about it, right? And initially he'd be like, "It's your fault. You did this." So I were an argument, like it placed the blame on me entirely, right? And then after the fact, after the matter, he'd be like, "No, I was wrong. It was me. I was wrong. I should have done better." Blah blah blah. And that happened almost every argument. I would have to argue him down on why he was wrong. And then after like a long strain of arguing, it would finally click. But it took a long time. Like he never ever could take accountability. He could never be like, I was wrong. This is my bad. This is my fault. I'm taking ownership. No, no. It had to be my fault all the time. And so I would be like, oh no, he's just working on that. Like we can work through that. But that happened every single argument. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Jamera, let me tell you something, right? What you're saying is a carbon copy of my experience. So there's I think we've got close to the bottom of what's going on here, right? So in those situations I've told you that I shouldn't be in, that's exactly what was happening. You know, couldn't even stay 5 minutes being in the wrong. And this is part of when a psychologist says a child trapped in an adult's body. You know, it's fine for them to say you're on the wrong, you're this, and they're happy to talk about it for hours or say what they want to say, but they can't spend even 5 minutes in the hot seat.
Oh my goodness. No, absolutely not.
There you go. And this is what happens. And then after these relationships all said and done, I might get a phone call a couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of years later. I'm sorry, I should have listened to you. I was a problem. Everything that they tried to justify they're now saying I was right in the first place and they should have listened.
Right.
I'm the type of guy that they need, all this rubbish that I didn't care about at the time. Now, for me, again, I'm just going to say again, it sounds like we're getting to the bottom of what this relationship, what the situation was. And don't get me wrong, you know, you've been great on this. You've been amazing. You know, the whole point of why we are talking is to help people. Like, we have intelligent conversations. A lot of people go through the same things. We all say we're different, fine. But I say we're creatures of habit. We all tend to make the same decisions under the same conditions, in the same situations, think, oh, maybe, it's not going to happen to us, or it's going to happen to someone else. No, it's not our situation. But when we look back into those situations and we're ready to accept it, we realize, you know what? Yeah, there were things that I should have paid attention to that I'm going to pay attention to now.
Yeah, honestly. And there's this one time where me and my two girl best friends, right? We were playing my best friends, one of my best friends, her dad is stationed out in Dubai, right? So all of us had agreed that we were going to go out there. We were going to go out there for March, right? This is before. So, and then I told Caleb about it, right? But me and Caleb had planned to go to Dubai together for the very first time. But my best friend proposed the idea to me, so I'm going to be like, why wouldn't I not go? So I brought the idea up to him, and he was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go too. And I was like, no, like, I'm going to go with my friends. Like, this is a girls' trip. I'm going with my friend's family. And when I tell you, that was an argument. He just felt like he couldn't believe, what's the word I want to say? He was, what's the word I used? He's, invasive, very, and very, I don't want to say we're controlling, but he felt like he had to go and be with me and watch my every move and be where I was at. Clingy.
Can we use the word possessive in this?
Possessive.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to say that word, but I think that's honestly a part of what it was. I feel like he was possessive, invasive, and very. He just lacked awareness and accountability, and yeah, for sure.
I've got another question. When, let's say, you wouldn't speak or you wasn't around him, could he function?
No, he'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to talk to you." And I'd be like,
"Okay, this is getting worse."
The pressure is getting worse.
And I would be like, "I'm good. I will see you when I see you." Mind you, we were living in two different cities, right? He was in Houston. I was in Austin. Yeah. Y'all, oh my God. I'm kind of exposing myself now. Now y'all are making me feel like, oh, dang, you should have realized these things.
Okay. It happens, man.
Whenever I would commute, because I would commute to Houston regularly to see him, blah, blah, blah. Instead of me like driving my car to Houston, he'd be like, no, I'm going to come get you. I'm going to drive to Austin, come get you, and then drive back to Houston. Like, he didn't want me to drive my own car. He wanted to be with me at all times. And then like when I would go to Houston, because like I like get like my hair, nails, I get all that done in Houston, right? He would like want to drive me around for the entire day. He would like take me to work, pick me up from work, drive me off. And I would just be like, bruh, you have to give me some space.
Do you know what? I understand.
You're like, I can wait for you outside your job till you get off.
Do you know what? I understand from the point of view that he wants to make sure that his missus is safe. But there's a point where it becomes too much and you're just doing too much. You're just doing things that don't need to be done.
It's crazy.
So, okay. So how long have we been talking for? Over an hour? What are your thoughts now, Jamera?
My thoughts now is that I think Caleb, I think that he, honestly, like, y'all, I really hate to say, like, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I feel like people want me to believe that what happened was a facade. They want me to believe that everything that happened was like fraudulent and it wasn't the truth and that he was manipulating me. Do y'all think he was manipulating me?
Not personally, no.
So I don't think he was manipulating me, but I do feel like he was. I do feel like he was throwing off of a sense of like, how do I say? I don't feel like he was his most genuine self. I do feel like, in a sense, he lacked in a lot of areas. Like he lacked accountability, he lacked awareness. I feel like he was partially probably insecure, and I don't know. He was probably dealing with childhood trauma that I just wasn't aware of.
He definitely was.
Yeah, but I just wasn't aware of. So like, and because I just, and because I feel like he would brush past it with a sense of like something referring to God, I would just believe it, right?
I knew he was going to say that. Because what tends to happen is, especially in the early days, right? You really want to move past things so much, but we forget that we also need to be able to talk about them and share and just really get to the bottom of it. But what some people do when we give our lives to Christ is that it's going to sound bad me saying this, because people are going to say, oh, I shouldn't say that, but we focus so much on God and the Holy Spirit, and you know what? It's right, because sometimes we need to really go down that pathway in order to create those changes in our life. But we forget that we still have those strongholds. We still have those things that we need to deal with, and they're not going to be dealt with unless we 100% address them. So even in our prayers, we can be so ambiguous because you don't want to touch areas that say, no, like, Jesus, I really need help with A, and this is where it's from. It's a struggle. I'm dying. A lot of people don't have that conversation. So a lot of people don't know. And they can go out into the world, be this, I'm this pious, this strong Christian, I know all these scriptures, I'm like this, that. It is, to me, like you said, it's not them being genuine. It's not them being themselves. And they're trying to run away from that because they don't want to address something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I mean, this ended up with him cheating, but there's different things that people go to, different addictions that people have. So it's, again, we're all struggling out here. No one is perfect. We're all on our journey, carrying our own crosses. But psychologically, these are the things that happen so many times. And now we're getting to the bottom of it. And we don't even know him, but just by asking you a few questions from a place of wisdom, from things that we've been through and what we see out and about, now we're building a picture of how, not just him, but how many people are, even how we used to be at a particular point in time.
Well, for me, when I was trying to figure out like why, or just what the situation, when I was trying to think of it as a whole, I started to question like, did I ever put him in a position to make him feel like he had to be somebody that he wasn't? That's how I'm like, because when I was talking to the other girl, she was telling me how he would confide in her about like mentally how he felt. And I felt like Caleb tried to paint a picture as if he was always good. Like he wanted to be like the stronghold, right? He wanted to be the leader of our relationship. And I feel as though he felt like he could not have moments of weakness or vulnerability and keep that title of like head honcho. Like he felt like he had to be strong all the time, well put together, never in a bad, and so that's what made me feel like maybe I did not give him the safe space to be his truest self. Maybe he felt like he couldn't break down. Maybe he felt like he didn't have a safe space to express whatever it is he was going through. I don't know, but this is a possibility because and I didn't want to say this because I hate to feel like, oh, you're taking for his wrongdoings, but I just feel like maybe, I don't know. It's just a thought. It's just a thought.
The thing is, from what we've gathered in this conversation, I don't feel like that's your problem.
Okay. Cool.
Because I see, again, we wasn't in a relationship, but unless you was a difficult woman, you was disrespectful, unless you ridiculed how we felt, I mean, if those things happen, then I can understand when a man withdraws. But if those things didn't happen and you talked to him normally, this is on him.
Yeah.
And let's just say, right, you come across as someone that's quite confident. Yes, we all have our own whatever, but someone that's quite confident, knows where you're going, speaks your mind. There are some men who can't handle it. There are some men who can't handle the vulnerability that they have on the inside. So it's not all. Some situations it's not always just the men who can't handle it. But in this situation, it just really sounds like the problem was him. And with this person that he was using as a pacifier, she was all too willing to just be that for him and have him around and baby him.
It was too easy, I think. Honestly, I didn't know. I don't know.
Whereas I'm gonna say this, whereas let's say to me, you carry yourself like you do hold your man to a certain standard.
Absolutely.
And he may have not felt he could keep to that standard consistently, but it wasn't that he couldn't talk to you about it and say, babe, I'm struggling. It was to do with him and his own pride, his own ego, his own masculinity. I don't know who his mentors are, what he speaks about, if he joins men's ministries and has conversations, I don't know. But that's another aspect that some men actually are dealing with. And they just revert, because of the abandonment aspect, they revert back to type. They revert back to what they've always been doing, even though they know it's not a place that they should be.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm just loving the conversation. I think it's quite interesting listening to some of the I guess the different ways that we all kind of interacted, but specifically, obviously, as you said, yourself and him. Like as I was listening, I was just letting my brain kind of tinker, and I was thinking about like what you mentioned about him being able to be comfortable to share like how he felt with the other person. So here's what I'm going to say. Being emotionally avoidant presents the imagery of strength, and it doesn't present the imagery of vulnerability. Right? It's not saying I'm blaming you. I'm presenting what's happening. Right? So when the person becomes emotionally avoidant with situations, they have a facade of I'm strong, and actually there's some truth to it because you said it earlier on, right? You do what you need to do. You ain't got time to cry about it. Shoot, I gotta get on with it, right? That energy is what he wanted. Like so. I don't know how to explain it. So sometimes when we get into relationships with people, we are looking at them as a model. Because if he hasn't had that model himself, he has to find the model somewhere, right? So I want to become your rock. But I realize you've got the energy that is needed to become the rock. Because when you're with me, I see the rock in you, right? Because you don't get phased. You seem to be standing on your own 2 feet. You're very independent. You're all of this, right? And there's a part of him that sees you and goes, I wanna be the rock. And I see the parts of you that you have, those attributes would make me the rock for you. There's a part of him that wants to please because he never had that probably from his parent given. And it sounds like he's either dysfunctional attachment style or maybe anxious avoidant attachment, but I think it's closer to almost dysfunctional. He's almost there, it sounds like, from what I'm hearing. And that tends to put the person in a place where they're honestly trying to please people, right? Because they're looking for affection. So that rock thing, he wanted to be the rock because he wanted you to be pleased. That's the reality of it. Not that he actually truly believed it himself. He might have done, but reality is he knew being the rock would make you pleased because he knows that's what you need, right? And if that's what you need, you're going to stick around. And if you're going to stick around, you ain't going to abandon me because everyone else has already abandoned me. Everyone's jumped ship, so I can't afford for you to jump ship. So I'm going to do whatever I need to do that looks like I should be doing to make sure that you stick around and you stay, right? That's how it starts. But the reality is, once you get into a relationship, the paper mache that you used to build your foundations begins to fall away real quick, right? And you have to start looking at yourself. I think what's really interesting also as well about what you've said is what we haven't discussed, I think, in the sense of is what drew you to him. Because in reality, emotionally avoidant people like ourselves are also looking for people either who are also emotionally avoidant, which can happen. But the other reality is there's another part, which is we like being needed because it's something that you never had. So even though you may not like the fact that someone's attaching themselves to you, it feels nice to know that someone actually would want to attach themselves to you. So you don't want it all the way, but you want to know you have it on tap. because a part of the emotional avoidant is also control. People don't like talking about it, but I'll talk about it. Okay. It's control. We like it, right? Because once you begin to have that independence and that self, what tends to happen in relationships is you actually want the person to like you, want you, and need you, but at your leisure and your time. So yes, he was clingy, but he was clingy more so because that's his attachment style, number one. So I think that's him anyway. But number two, also, I think there's an aspect of you that likes the clinginess because it means at least this person really likes me. I know this
Say
person wants me.
Say yes.
Because
Just say it.
because something drew you to him. An energy.
I just don't know how much truth that is to me personally, because
That's fine. Push back. We'd love to hear. Push back.
I love the idea that he loves me. I don't know how bizarre it's gonna sound. This is my truth. This is just my truth. As a mind you, I'm 23. I'm still growing and glowing. Okay, so just hear me.
That's so fine.
I don't like the idea of a man needing me because right now in my life, I don't feel like I need him. So, and that's not, and I'm not on no, I don't need no man. But the words "I need this man" has never came out of my mouth, and I just feel it that way. I just have not felt that way, and maybe I just haven't. I don't know, but I don't like the idea of somebody feeling like they need me. Now, I love the idea of somebody feeling like they want me in their life. It's they enjoy having me, but needing me, I just think it's extreme. I do, because I feel like if I was to walk away right now, I need to know that life still can go on. Like, I love the idea of the mutual love, but like somebody needing me, I don't know. Maybe I sound bizarre. I don't know. But for me personally, I don't understand that logic. And it doesn't make me feel good to feel like somebody needs me. Because if somebody was to walk away from me right now, just like what happened with Caleb, I can still stand on my own 2 feet. Because I didn't need him to make me happy. I didn't need him for anything else other than being my partner. But if that was to end, which it can always end, nothing is permanent. That could always end, and I'm still okay. So that's, I guess, kind of what I mean by that. Like, I love the affection, but I just don't. I felt like it was, in a sense, possessive to the point where it was right. Like, it was like dire need, and I don't like. It wasn't healthy. I don't know.
So let me rephrase it. Sorry, you're actually right. So when I say need, because I already said everyone, we like our space, we like our independence. When I say need, the word need is wrong. It's what we interpret as desire. Is probably a better word, right? Because it's when we incorrectly interpret desire. So need was probably a wrong word, because we already know that we like our space. We like people to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. I need to know that if I leave, you're gonna be okay. I agree, because that's how we are, right? But there is something that draws us to people who have an intense desire, though. And maybe the word need is the wrong word, because need is meaning that the person has to do it, but the desire, because that desire means I see you, which is why I'm saying there's a part of us that okay, so we have the strength on an illusion of strength, and we have actual strength, but there's a part of us that is very soft. It's very sensitive. It's actually the reason why you became emotionally avoidant, because there's a part of you that is very sensitive. This is why you became emotionally avoidant, because the body says I'm overloading like a computer and I have to go do and shut down. So what emotionally avoidant people do is, because they're very sensitive, when things are too much, they have to find a way to cope. Their coping method is shut down. But there's an aspect of you that needs to be desired. When I say desired, it's not needed. It's a someone sees you, right? So even though he may be clingy, part of the clinginess you're interpreting as, and we interpret parts of information, so it's not all of it, but we interpret as he wants me. I know for sure he wants me.
Yeah.
Can guarantee it that he wants me. So yes, he's clingy, and I don't like that part, and I want to change that part of him and get rid of that. But I know for sure, out of all the goons maybe I've dated, this goon here wants me, and I can put it 100% down that this guy wants me, which is why also the narrative that you said is, it's not like he played me. No, I know he wanted me, because you can interpret that need, that possessiveness that he has, you can interpret some of it as it's desire. He actually wants me.
Yeah.
And that's something that that's why we get drawn to people like that. Because similar enough, I had an ex. Everything you described, I'm like, sounds like just like the ex situation, but she was possessive. Okay, the friend situation, I didn't pick up on the red flag. The friend situation weren't there. Okay, she found it hard to make friendships, right? And and then I became the person that was a focal point. Then it started trickling down to now the accusations, and then started the lying and the gaslighting and the sudden amnesia that you have about what you did say. When I'm like, wait, what's going on here? Like, bro, wait a minute, am I crazy? And I start asking myself the question, maybe I'm crazy because clearly I'm doing things wrong here. But I realized that she was also going through something that what you're saying, what the gentleman was going through, which is, and this is another thing you mentioned, I wanted to say this. I think you mentioned this whole persona of being nice. That persona of being nice is very false, and I think you already know that. But that if he can't be nice, he will be destroyed because his whole ego is very fragile. It's attached to being good, quote unquote, right? So the reason why he couldn't take accountability for all the issues is because if he's wrong at a core center, he is a wrong. That means he's wrong. Not that he's wrong in terms of what he did. He himself as a person is wrong.
Yeah.
And that makes it very difficult to take accountability in the issues that you have because you won't see it that way. I won't see it that way, but he will see if I'm wrong about this issue, that means I'm wrong about me as an individual, as a person. And then that means, again, if I'm wrong about me and you see that I'm wrong about me, that means you go and walk out, Jamera, because I can't have that. So I need to argue my case so that you're wrong. Because if you're wrong, then you're going to stay because you know your ass is wrong and I'm right. And you're going to keep on trusting me because I'm right.
You make a very valid point. Yeah.
This happens a lot. It's that shame. It's like, what's the opposite? It's that shame that people can't bear. If I'm so used to saying that person's to blame and I'm the one in the wrong, that same energy is going to be very difficult to give back to myself. So naturally, the nervous system has to say, you. Over some time, yeah, okay, maybe I am in the wrong, etc. But it speaks to a greater character, speaks to a greater, persona, which needs healing. Let's put it that way. Which needs healing because there's obviously something like, what's the saying, like fight or flight? So his natural self always chooses to fight. I guess it's what he's used to, but it's like I said in the beginning, that there's something that he's running away from, something that he's not addressing, which is why it happened. So again, everyone, these are things to look out for. There isn't one-stop shop, but these are things to really pay attention to. Now, the reason why I was saying this is because we've had to deal with this many times. So we call a spade a spade. That, yeah, we're all different, but realistically, things end up in the same way. No matter who you are, if these are the same behaviors that people have. So you can be with someone, but you need to call this stuff out. You need to say, hey, this can't run. This is not how we're going to communicate. This is not how we're going to deal with problems. This is not going to be a healthy relationship if this continues. We need to be able to address things appropriately, in good time, but definitely in a way that's going to create a healthy situation. And yeah, I think everyone just needs to stand up and pay attention because we all learn. Look, you're 23. No one's going to be hard on you. You're 23.
Yeah.
At 23, what was I doing? I was still in the mix of all this nonsense myself. So, but at least you have people around you that can give you the real. Like, these things happen. Like, I'm sure there's many women on here that can say, girl, I experienced that too. Girl, this is what I've been through. I'm sure, when everything went viral, you had so many girls and saying, oh my gosh, I've been through this as well. I thought this was a man of God. I thought my dreams came true. I thought God answered my prayers.
Oh, I thought.
There you go. That happens. Trust me, you're not alone. It happens, and it's not your fault. There are aspects that, yes, you realize things that you need to work on, just like we've had to realize there's things to work on. That's fine. But this particular case, to me, the cross is with him to carry. That he needs to really look into himself and figure out what is going on. Because now he has a baby on the way. He has someone that he really wanted.
She's not even pregnant.
Oh.
No, she had a miscarriage.
Okay. Okay, we don't know then. We don't. This gets what is?
Yeah, she doesn't. She's not pregnant. She apparently had a.
This does sound familiar. I'm swear down, it sounds so familiar. This story. It's not you, but I know. But someone else had a similar story, exact same way, and it's kind of scary. That is a carbon cop. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, the baby's not around for whatever reason. She did have a miscarriage. I hope she heals from that situation because it's horrible.
Like asking you, but go ahead.
What am I? Okay, go on. Answer it.
I want to make sure I want to make sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Not if, because he will. When he comes back and starts saying all the right things, starts addressing things in the way I've just said. Remember, I said people have done that to me. Would you consider? Remember how he treated you for a year. Would you consider taking him back?
Let me be honest with y'all, okay? Okay. So, I have thought about this relentlessly, okay? Do think about it. Let me just break this down. Because I'm not going to answer the question straight. I'm going to answer the question.
Sure.
And I judge me for this. This is just my truth, okay? The fact that he had sex with this woman, that truthfully does not bother me. He could have got past it. Him physically cheating with another woman, I feel like that's not on my top 3 list of why I would break up with a man. It's just not. Now was it horrendous? Yeah, it was, because it's betrayal, right? But that's not really why I walked away. I walked away from that because of the emotional piece that was tied to it. Okay, so yeah, the fact that he had sex with her hurt, it stung. But what really stomped on me was the fact that I saw messages between him and this woman. He's telling her he loves her.
Yeah.
He's met her mom. He's met her son. There's an emotional piece to it. You get what I'm saying? That's what hurt me, because I felt like, was that telling me a lie? And more importantly, if it wasn't a lie, how can I believe it based off of what you're telling her? I'm asking you if you really love her, and you're saying that you don't. How do I know that's the same thing you're telling me? I don't even love Jamera. Who knows what the truth is, you know? So I will say this. I'm going to be honest. Had he just cheated and it was physical and that was that, he never spoke to her again, yeah, I would. Hands down, I would. Because we can move past it. I can't move past the emotional piece of it, because I will never. When you say you love me, I will constantly question if you really love me. And I can't spend the entirety of my life wondering if the man that I'm with loves me. Emotional piece not been tied in there, hands down. I'm taking that man back. But I love myself enough to know that, like, the emotional piece of it will kill me. Like, it will take a toll on me, because I will always be wondering, always be curious, always have a second thought. And that's just not the way I want to live my life at 20. You know? So the fact that it was emotional and tied to, I won't say that I can't. I have forgiven him, but I can't. There's not an opportunity for redemption, because I will never trust him again. I don't hate him. I'm not mad at him. So I was reading the comments and they're like, "Oh, it'll happen again," and blah blah blah. And it's just the fact that, I hate to say it, but I'm very content with who I am as a young woman. I know what I want, and it's not somebody that's gonna, it's not somebody that's gonna lie to my face the way he did. So I feel like that's why for me it's so easy to kind of laugh at, because it's like, on to the next type thing, you know? I don't know how to put it with sounding logical, but for me, I wouldn't take it back simply because I wouldn't be able to trust him. Had the emotion not been there, then yes, I would. But I just don't believe anything he says.
I hear you.
There's 2 things I'll say. The first thing is, I don't think he loves her. I just think he's attached. And
I don't think he loves her. I don't think he loves her either, and I can agree with that. But it's like, if you don't love her, then why were you telling her those things?
You don't know, man.
And if I'm going to be brutally honest with y'all, we're being transparent, right? We're being honest. We're being honest. He called me today. We talked today. Yeah. We talked today. We talked this morning.
You see?
So you're like, when he comes back, yeah, he already did. He came back this morning. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I know, and he's gonna come back again. I'm not worried about it. I know me.
Mm-hmm.
If I felt like I was gonna get back with him, I'd be here like, yeah, I am. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that. I'm not gonna sit on here and say that I don't miss him, or that I don't think about him, or that I haven't considered it. I have, but I have to. My mental has to be stronger than my heart right now. I can't think with my heart.
Mm-hmm.
He loved me. Do you know this man? This earth consists of so many people. There are so many men willing to do it right the first time. And I'm not expecting the man that I'm with to be perfect. But I can't limit myself to somebody of Caleb's issues. Like, he's not a person. I won't tear him down. I won't say that I hate him. I don't. Like, it's truly all love on my end. I would never have hate for Caleb because he did play an active role in my life, and there was some good to our situation. But at the end of the day, what happened, and I have to hold him accountable for that. I can't just pray. I just can't think about, well, oh, it was oh so good, but this also happened. This was a traumatic thing that happened to me. So no, and I don't want to, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I start to convince myself that I have to believe that a man just cheats and I have to just deal with that. That's something you start to convince yourself of when you accept the man that cheated on you. You become complacent, like you start believing that that's what you deserve, and you got to just deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want, at such a young age, I don't want to put myself in that headspace that I have to deal with that. There's no attachments. We ain't got no kids. There ain't no ring. There's nothing. So I'm walking away right now while I can, and while there's a clean state for me to do so. There's ample opportunity. There's really the options are limited. I feel like I have so much more opportunity. So walking away from this now than staying in it and trying to give it another shot and see what happens. I just don't put myself in that predicament. So no, I wouldn't.
I feel you. Oh, there we go.
Baby, Jamera, you're beautiful. I love your smile, by the way. I love your energy. It's very infectious. Let me give you what I tell my audience, the dark arts. Okay? Let me give you the dark arts. And the dark arts it's the art of manipulation, control, and influence. Okay? Now, I've lived a life before, you see a reformed brother here. And that life was one of an emotional and manipulator. Okay? All right? We would tell girls and say, when they're in a relationship, but are you happy though? That's a question we'd ask. We'd do things like this. Can I just say this? Because you're emotionally avoidant, you're going to think you have control over the situation. You don't. Because there's a part of you that you can't see as a blind spot. And because we're similar, I'm going to tell you the truth. There's a blind spot. Your element of control here, maybe, and I'm going to speak to the most deepest depth of you, which maybe you've acknowledged or you haven't acknowledged. You have an ego in your strength, and that ego is what will set you up for the fall. You thinking you're strong enough is what's going to cause a fall in this situation, because it's only been a few months and you're giving him space to have an ear to hear his word. Giving somebody an ear to whisper anytime when you haven't fully recovered is asking to be hit again. And this time when they hit, it won't be from outside, it'll be from within. Because when Jericho fell, they had to go round Jericho 6 times. It's on the 7th time it fell. You think you're strong the first time. You think you're strong the second time. You think you're strong the third time. You think you're strong the 4th time. You think you're strong the 5th time. You think you're strong the 6th time. But it's on the 7th time that suddenly the words now are making sense for you. And you're saying, why not? Now, I know you're probably in your head saying, I'm never going to give him a chance. But you're already giving me a chance. The fact the door is open is giving me a chance. And if I'm me, if I'm him and I'm me, right, and I'm in my darkest days, I'm promising you now that I'm going to say what I need to say now, Jamera, about how I'm changing, how I see things from your point of view, how, actually, Jamera, I don't even have to even mention the good times, because I already know you remember the good times. So I don't need to mention that. I need to mention the things that you told me that is the reason why we broke up, which is, of course, the cheating part. But I'm working on me. I'm changing me now. You know what I'm saying? I'm literally even in sitting in therapy, and I'm talking to my therapist, and they're saying that this X, Y, Z, I'm going to tell you things that I'm doing, and by all means, he may be telling the truth. The reality is, he needs you to leave him alone.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get out the way, you are preventing his growth. And if he doesn't get out your way, he's preventing your growth. You are not going to grow any more than you really need to without him, because what he's becoming is what a tree needs. When you have that stick right next to the tree and it's weak, you put that stick next to it so that it can grow straight. That's what he's going to become for you. But the problem is that you are not going to grow straight. In this reality, you're not going to, because you're going to still have your prop. You're using him as a prop. Oh, you didn't know that. You thought it was only him. You're using him as an emotional prop. While he's still there, you are still getting the emotional prop, because while he's still there, he's still saying what he needs to say. You're still having the idea of him still being around, even though he's not actually together with you. He's still around. Do you see what I'm saying? So now that energy hasn't left you. You actually haven't detached. Sis, the baby's still attached to the cord.
I can definitely agree. I can agree for sure.
Okay.
I definitely feel like I have not.
But you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and I appreciate that, because we're both emotion avoidant. Me telling you ain't gonna change nothing, because you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
But
Am I lying? You're gonna do what you're gonna do, and that's okay. I understand. I respect it.
I have to say
You're
this
gonna do
though.
what you're gonna do.
Be very careful, because me and you are the same. We can say we're just detached, just like that, and that's a flaw that we have, by the way. That's not the greatest thing in the world. It's a flaw, because we're doing it to protect ourselves. But what I did, I made sure I didn't give any of those people access to me after that. I completely was radio silence, because I knew the dark arts. I knew the game. I knew what they would come and say. And yes, they did say all the right things, but I made sure emotionally I looked after myself first. And I said, I'm not trying to play those games. Yeah, they didn't like it. Yeah, whatever. They're used to manipulating people and getting what they want through these things. I didn't care. I just knew I don't want you. So why am I giving you any avenues to say anything to me? We don't need to be friends. Especially as if I'm now going to be with someone else, that person's now going to question that friendship that I'm now saying that exists. It doesn't make sense. So you got to cut that off, sis. Because it's not necessary, unless you want him back.
No, y'all, today when he called me, he literally called me from no caller ID. Like, it's just like, y'all
He's going to try. He's
right.
I can give you stories.
She's winning. Jamera is winning. Jamera has got an ego like there's no tomorrow. Jamera, come and join this side of the table. Don't worry. Come and join this table. We understand you.
I'm working on it.
It's okay. I'm with you, babe. Don't even worry about it. I'm not even judging you. Because you know what I mean? I got an ego too. Okay. I want to win. And I can see how the situation is playing out. Girl, you winning right now. Okay. I'm just saying, just as a big brother, just be careful. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Because I know you're going to do what you're going to do.
But I'm glad. No, but I'm really glad that you made that point, because let me be real. Like I told y'all, I still care for him. It's not like I just don't care. I won't even lie like that. So the idea of him coming back and being like, I've changed. This is what I've worked on. I could see it. I can literally see it happening. And when it does, it's like, are you strong enough to still, not give into that? And it's so easy to sit here and be like, no, I wouldn't. It's so easy to say that when you're not in that situation. So it's definitely giving me something to think about. Now, ideally, I would really hope that I would not give in, and I'm anticipating that I wouldn't. But again,
we know the truth.
The truth is that I wouldn't. Whatever.
And I ain't even mad at it. Listen. I know. I understand. Do you know what I'm saying? I think we've spoken about it. So I think from that, like I said, because we're quite similar. I know that saying do this or do that, it's not going to change what I'm about to do. You're going to do what you're going to do. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I just want to tell you this is what could happen. Do you know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is, if you're going to play the game, let me give you a little bit of game out here, okay, sis? We don't do things raw. We keep it all locked up. You understand? Yeah. I'm just saying. You might want to give yourself some room to that. You know what I mean? So you know, keep it locked up. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it strapped up. If we're gonna do it, let's keep it strapped up. I mean, listen, I'm just gonna give real advice. I know some people might not like it because we're Christians out here, but I'm just keeping it real. Listen, if you're gonna do it, let's keep it strapped up. Number one, okay. Number two, okay. Remember, you have to you moving like it's what do we call it? Inception. Okay. I need you to have something that's gonna remind you that we are in a dream. Okay, so that you can wake up, because we can't spend too much time here. The reality of life is going to catch up real quick. Number three, I also want you to understand here, you're 23 now. But if you get caught up, it could be 27, 28, 29, 30.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. So I want those words to ring in your ear when you start realizing that it's, you know what I mean? Because telling you to stop is not going to tell you to stop. So I want words that are gonna make sense in the right time and right season. It's going to connect. And when it hits, you're going to wake up. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Do you know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is stay strapped. Okay, baby. All right. Don't do anything that's going to get you caught up. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? That's what I'd say. As big bro. You know what I mean? I rate your honesty. Honestly, I appreciate it. I'm not even going to lie to you. I appreciate honesty. Some people won't even say it. They'll be like, yeah. I hear you. And then they'll go back and do what they're going to do. I'd rather people be honest and open, and I respect that. Do you understand? Yeah? I'm going to keep in touch with you. You understand? Any last words, Jamera? Any last words?
I appreciate y'all's transparency and honesty and the advice. I really genuinely, like, come on, I've been laughing and giggling and, you know, my ego, whatever, but genuinely, I've taken it all. I'm comprehending. Okay. Like, I'm not just hearing you guys. I'm comprehending what you're saying. I appreciate every word that y'all have said. Truthfully, seriously, honestly. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
I respect it, honestly.
Absolutely.
You're a great soldier.
I respect your honesty.
Thank you. Yeah. That's because we're all in the same matrix. We gonna stay in touch. Don't worry about it. Okay. Listen, audience. I appreciate you guys coming through, keeping it respectful, keeping it cute. It's been a really good conversation. It's the kind of conversation that I love having on this channel, and love having with you guys as well. And I want to thank Jamera for being so honest, and you know, just being yourself. You know what I'm saying? And allowing us also to kind of get to know you a bit better, as well. I think that's such a powerful thing to have. And I appreciate Jay as well for even setting this up, because I think this is one of the greatest conversations we had on this channel, and I think it really does. It will help other people. I know we joked around and we said things and we laughed and we smiled and we, you know, kikied, but it will help people who watch it, because there's things that they can take from it. Do you know what I'm saying? So, especially those who are emotionally avoidant like ourselves, you know exactly what we're facing. Okay, so you know what we're going through. It's tough out here. Okay, so yeah, honestly, thank you so much. On your way out, guys, make sure you like this video. Okay, all right. Analytics need a little help. Okay, like the video, share it with someone, subscribe as well, and we'll see you again for another live in about 5 minutes, because we're gonna talk about Love and Marriage DC. That looks like, so we're gonna get on some things. All right, Jamera, thank you again once more. Jay, appreciate you. Audience, don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's not much I wouldn't do, so be careful out there, baby. You know what time